Hello everybody, it's Claudia. I'm excited you're here with me today because we're talking about a pretty important subject, and that is oxidative stress, as well as free radicals and antioxidants. And to help us understand the whole thing just a little bit better, I invited a friend of mine. Her name is Beth Sanderson, and Beth studied microbiology as well as cell biology at university, and then just recently set up a research collaboration with the Nelson Mandela Institute in South Africa, where they looked at the cosmetic potential of various antioxidants. And I think you will find the studies and Beth's knowledge in general fascinating. And of course, I have talked about Beth before in one of my previous videos on my favorite cruelty-free and vegan skincare, because Beth is the creator of one of my favorite green Rooibos pressed serums, quite a mouthful, MAYSAMA. So without further ado, let's talk to Beth.
Hello, Beth. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, Claudia. Thank you for inviting me on your channel.
You're very welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, yes. Well, it's probably best to say something about my skin type, first of all. Gosh, I've suffered with skin issues all my life. I have rosacea and I also have vitiligo. I'm a mature lady. I'm 54 this year. So I hit menopause at 50 and I had all sorts of issues with my skin because my rosacea really flared up. So I remember going to the dermatologist after about 9 months of these very red, angry papules on my face, and she put me on antibiotics, and that immediately fixed it. But of course, I was too scared to come off them because every time I tried to come off the antibiotics, then I was back to square one. So I started to teach myself about skincare, and I found that I just loved the skincare science because I studied cell biology at university as part of my course. So it made sense to me. But more than that, I just loved it. And I think that was really the eureka moment for me, that I decided, I need to get back to the science. And I was very lucky that opportunity struck, and there was a venture capitalist that set me up with the Nelson Mandela Institute in South Africa, and we started a research collaboration to look at the cosmetic potential of various antioxidants, and that's why I've got a real passion for antioxidants.
So you mentioned the term antioxidants, and that's a term we hear quite often, as well as free radicals, oxidative stress. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that actually means?
Yes, definitely. So free radicals are just unstable molecules. So they have an unpaired electron, and they constantly try to steal an electron from any other molecule. And that potentially can do damage to cells. But they're not all bad, because just general cellular processes make free radicals. You can take cellular respiration, that creates free radicals. And our immune system, when we try and fight bacteria or pathogens, that again creates free radicals. So they're not all bad. But we tend to think of free radicals in association with exposure to UV light. And I think you probably know the names superoxide, hydrogen peroxide, and the hydroxyl radical. Those are the ones that we tend to think about. And that's UV light reacting with water in our skin and creating those free radicals. And an excess of free radicals then creates a condition called oxidative stress. And that creates a problem, because oxidative stress, the ultimate fate of oxidative stress is cell death. And of course, we want to avoid that. But the cells have their own antioxidant defense system. So that's made up of low molecular weight antioxidants like glutathione, that you probably know, and antioxidant enzymes like superoxide dismutase and catalase, again, names that your viewers are probably familiar with. And then a whole host of signaling pathways. And those are, really important to defend the cell and resist oxidative stress. But as our cells get older and as our bodies get older, then those defense mechanisms become just less effective. So it's really important to supplement those natural processes with antioxidants that we get from skincare or diet.
So internally and externally.
Internally and externally, exactly.
So we hear about so many different antioxidants. Are they all created equal?
No, they're not, actually. It depends very much on how potent they are, and also whether they're bioavailable or bioactive. So I'll explain what I mean by those terms, because they're probably not familiar terms. So by bioavailability, we mean, can an antioxidant get into the cell? Can it permeate the cell membrane? And can it accumulate within the cell? And that sounds simple, but there's so many things that can determine its fate. Even if it does get into the cell, then there's all sorts of things that can happen, like enzymes can come along and deactivate it, so then it doesn't perform as an antioxidant anymore. Or you can have efflux proteins that then try and transport it back out of the cell because they see it as foreign. So again, it just depends on the antioxidant, whether that's going to work inside the cell. So that's bioavailability. By bioactive, what we mean is, can it scavenge free radicals inside the cell? So once it's gone in there and it's accumulated, can it actually perform its antioxidant activity inside the cell? And can it ultimately prevent cell death, which is a result of too much oxidative stress? So we looked at lots of different antioxidants in our study. And so we included vitamin E, soluble vitamin E, and green tea, Rooibos, resveratrol, and many others. And if you take soluble vitamin E, then it's known to be a really potent antioxidant. But then that's measuring its antioxidant capacity outside of the cell, because yes, it can donate electrons to free radicals very efficiently, but that doesn't translate in the same magnitude to how effective it is inside the cell. And we saw this with other antioxidants as well. But the T polyphenols, they are really strongly bioavailable and they're very bioactive. So they're really good antioxidants. And if you compare those perhaps to resveratrol, again, that people might be familiar with, T polyphenols are more bioactive than resveratrol. Now, that might be because resveratrol is a single antioxidant compound, and we know that antioxidants like to work together. So if you take green tea extract or green Rooibos extract, it's a mix of polyphenolic compounds that work together, and that's why you get a better result.
So I find that fascinating, and I actually was not aware that antioxidants are not all created equally. And you mentioned that green tea is a great antioxidant, as well as green Rooibos.
Yes.
However, most of us are familiar with green tea, but not so much with green Rooibos. How do the two compare?
Well, it's probably worth saying that green Rooibos is caffeine free. And I think that's probably one of the main reasons that people drink, well, not just green Rooibos, but Rooibos in general. And that's why people drink Rooibos tea, or one of the reasons. But in terms of its antioxidant potential, then green Rooibos, at least our medical grade green Rooibos, compares really well to green tea. And they've got similar mechanisms as well, but I'll come on to that in a minute. So if I just show you briefly, this is green tea. So it's worth stressing that they come from different plants. This comes from Camellia sinensis, which is native to China. And then we have green Rooibos, which you can see is slightly lighter in colour, slightly reddish, and that comes from Aspalathus linearis, which is native to South Africa. So strictly speaking, it's a herb, it's a tisane, it's not actually a tea. But we refer to it as a green tea, and we refer to it as green because it comes from the fresh leaves, which are not oxidized. And that's why they have a much higher polyphenolic content, which gives them a much higher antioxidant potential. So that's why they're very similar. But this is a really interesting bit. So when we did our studies with the Nelson Mandela Institute, we looked at how they work in harmony with the cell, or whether they don't work in harmony with the cell. And green tea is known to stimulate certain key components in that natural antioxidant defense pathway that the cell has. Rooibos does exactly the same thing. And it's only the T polyphenols that showed that in our study. So it's a mechanism that appears unique to T polyphenols, that they not only directly scavenge free radicals, but they support the cell's natural antioxidant pathways.
So as I said earlier, I personally have never heard of green Rooibos tea. I do know red Rooibos. I actually make my kombucha with it, which I love.
I do too.
Can you tell us the difference between the red and the green Rooibos?
Yes, absolutely. So the red Rooibos is probably the one that we're more familiar with, red bush tea. So if I show you these teas, so this is our green Rooibos that you saw, and then this is red Rooibos or red bush. Mm-hmm. And the way they prepare the tea is they take the leaves, they wet them, they bruise them, and then they leave them to ferment in the sun. At least they call it fermentation, but strictly speaking, it's just oxidation. But that's what delivers our beautiful red coloured tea and that lovely aroma and taste. But the green Rooibos is just prepared from the fresh leaves, so it's not oxidized. But you see, the fermentation process or oxidation, that destroys up to 90% of the flavonoids in the Rooibos. So it takes away a lot of its antioxidant potential. And that's why green Rooibos is so much better as an antioxidant, so much more potent.
So I have to make my kombucha with green Rooibos tea.
You do.
Get both of the benefits, the probiotic and the antioxidants.
It's a double whammy. Yes.
Yep. So Beth, let's talk about antioxidants in skincare. When we hear about antioxidants in skincare, we think of vitamin C, or at least I do, because it's the most commonly known. Do we need more than one antioxidant?
It's such a great question. It really is. And the answer is yes, we do. The more, the merrier. So antioxidants just love to work together. If you take vitamin C, it's a single compound antioxidant, and it's also water soluble, at least if we're talking about L-ascorbic acid, which is the vitamin C derivative that most people tend to use in their skincare. But we need water soluble and fat soluble antioxidants to really address free radical damage in the fat soluble parts of the cells or the lipid membrane, and the water, the hydrophilic center. So it's important to have both. If you take something like Rooibos or green tea, then you've got a real mixture of polyphenols and they work together synergistically. So by that I mean it's more than their additive effects. So if you take 2 + 2 = 4, that's additive. If you take 2 + 2 = 5 or 6, that's synergistic. It's more than the sum of their parts. So yes, if you use vitamin C, I'm not saying don't use it. By all means, continue to use it because it's great for brightening. It's great for collagen synthesis. But when you're thinking about antioxidant protection, it's certainly worth adding in a plant extract like green tea or green Rooibos, and that will serve you better.
So just like in our diet, we don't just want to be eating lemons. We want a variety of fruits and
Exactly. We don't just eat one antioxidant. That's so true. It's a great analogy.
So since we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, skincare, we know that you're the creator of MAYSAMA, which is a green Rooibos pressed serum, and I absolutely love that serum. Tell us a little bit more about your product and what inspired you to create it.
Sure. Well, I said that I was researching skincare, and I think, like anybody does at the beginning, you start watching lots of vloggers. And I remember watching a YouTuber in the States called Gothamister. Do you know her, Renee?
Mm-hmm. I like
She's so
her,
lovely. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Well, Renee was talking about Rooibos in skincare, and she said it was one of her favorite ingredients. And my ears pricked up because I thought, I drink Rooibos tea because it's anti-inflammatory, so it helps to manage my rosacea. So I started to look for Rooibos in skincare, and you don't find it very often. When you do, it's the red Rooibos. And as we know, the green Rooibos has far greater antioxidant potential. So I just thought to myself, wouldn't that make a great skincare line, green Rooibos? So because my background is science, I didn't want to do it unless it was backed by science. So I got in touch with the South African Rooibos Council, and they put me in touch with the Nelson Mandela Institute. And that's when we set up the collaboration to really establish whether Rooibos is a true cosmetic ingredient, whether it's a true bioactive for cosmetic application. And then results to that study is what spurred me on to then produce my serum. So I have my serum right here, MAYSAMA Green Rooibos Press Serum. And the color and the smell just flags up Rooibos as the hero ingredient. So
I absolutely love the smell.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
I do too. It becomes very addictive. So it's a gel serum that just sinks into skin really, really easily. So it's formulated with 1.3% green Rooibos extract as an active pharmaceutical ingredient. So it's actually a patented extraction process. So we source the Rooibos, and then it goes through this patented extraction process to concentrate the aspalathin, which is the main flavonoid in Rooibos. And it turns it into a much more potent antioxidant. It has about 70 times the potency of red Rooibos, just to give you a comparison. And then we've got 3% niacinamide and a whole host of Korean beauty-inspired actives. And then the base, we didn't use water, we used aloe vera, pure aloe vera gel as a base because it's a great humectant. So it's really hydrating for the skin. It's also really soothing. So it's great for people that have perhaps sensitive or irritated skin, but it's formulated as an antioxidant serum, but it also makes a great SOS serum.
Now you mentioned niacinamide, which we hear a lot as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes.
Why did you put that in there and what does it do?
I love niacinamide as an ingredient. Yeah. I mean, when my skin was suffering, I think that niacinamide for me really made a difference because it really helps support your barrier function. And my barrier function was clearly compromised with rosacea. So it certainly helped with that. But it's also a great antioxidant in its own right. And it helps to minimize the appearance of pores, and it reduces sebum. So it's a great multitasking ingredient.
And I know you also have licorice in there, which I love. I used to use that a
Yes,
lot when I had rosacea. Turmeric, which is one of my favorite anti-inflammatories. Oops. So
it's
it's
all in
a,
there.
yeah, it's a powerhouse.
It really is. Yes.
And one of the things that drew me to your company as well is that you are vegan certified, you are sustainable. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. Well, we're registered with the Vegan Society, and we're also approved as cruelty-free under the Leaping Bunny program. So, but sustainability values anyway are really, really important to me. So when we source the Rooibos, our supplier, they audit every single farmer to make sure that they have sustainable farming practices and that they adhere to those. But aside from that, then we have sustainable packaging as well. So I use glass because I prefer glass. It's infinitely recyclable. And then our cartons are recycled card as well. So there's so much that I've thought about that, just really is environmentally friendly.
Which I really appreciate.
Thank you.
Another reason why I was intrigued by your serum is because I love LED light therapy, and I read the studies saying that when you use green tea with LED light therapy, you can get up to 10 times the results. So I have actually been using MAYSAMA with my LED light therapy, and I actually can see quite a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us why those two work so well together?
Yes, well, LED light and green tea serums, they have complementary actions. So the LED light therapy produces a lot of free radicals, and the green tea serum acts as an antioxidant and soaks up or mops up those free radicals. So they work really well together. And I've had a lot of people ask me, can I use MAYSAMA with LED therapy? Will it work? Well, to be fair, we can't make that claim because nobody has tested their brand to see whether it's going to give you heightened results with LED therapy. But what we can say is, if you look back at the original study, which was done with green tea, it was all about the antioxidant potential of green tea. That was what was working with the LED therapy. And we know from our study with the Nelson Mandela Institute that our pharmaceutical grade green Rooibos has comparable antioxidant capacity to green tea. So we can certainly say that. And we also know that the mechanisms of tea polyphenols are very, very similar.
Great. Now, when I use it with my LED light therapy, when should I apply it, or when should I apply the serum in general?
Well, with LED, the general rule is to apply it 20 minutes before, just to allow time for the serum to sink into the skin and for those antioxidants to work. In terms of where you use MAYSAMA, well, it's broader than that because it was formulated, obviously, as an antioxidant serum. So most people tend to be using it in the morning, whether that's in isolation or whether that's in combination with vitamin C. It doesn't really matter. And if you're using vitamin C, if it's L-ascorbic acid, use it after L-ascorbic acid. If it's another vitamin C derivative, you use it before. It depends on the pH, you see.
Okay.
And if you're using it in the evening, a lot of people like to use it with retinol. Again, you can use it before or after, but it depends on the individual. So if you're somebody who's very sensitive to retinol, it's great to use it before because it has niacinamide in, which can help buffer the effects of retinol. But if you're great with retinol, if you're more hardcore, use it afterwards. Either way, it's good. There's no contraindications. So you can use it with vitamin C, you can use it with retinol, you can use it with copper peptides. It doesn't really matter. You can also use it for just cosmetic microneedling, and it's fine with that because there's nothing in it that's going to irritate your skin. And LED. So I think that's pretty much, in the areas that you would use it.
Awesome. Well, Beth, this was really awesome. I'm so happy you came on here. I actually learned a lot. You covered a lot of things I did not know, and you know that I love your serum. And you were actually kind enough to give a discount to my viewers for those who are interested in getting my summer serum. And I will put all the details in the description box. But it is for 10% off, right? And if they click that link, it'll just automatically take it off. Thank you so much for doing that. That was very kind of you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for being here. I loved having you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. Ready? Action. Okay. So that's really fascinating that so many different oxidant. Very American just now. That's cool.
I'm up to do that again. Sorry, I got cloud.
It's empty. Oh no!
Damn. I just shook the camera. Put my foot down. It's really difficult. I feel like I'm working in a box. It's I don't want to say.